Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the defining challenge and inner work that shape who we have become. Today, I'm joined by Lou Lachman, a therapist coach and facilitator with over 30 years of experience, helping people return to embodiment, presence, and inner freedom through awareness-based practice. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Lou Lachman. Yeah, thank you. So what were some of the challenges that actually shape you into who you are today?
So many things. I think the challenges of being aware and coming into the body because of having a really challenging beginning. My parents joined a kind of humanitarian save the world organization when I was like 11 months. And at that point my care went into, they weren't around. I was cared for by kind of a rotation of people. Yeah, and just being raised in that environment was just very different. So it meant I felt quite numb and quite emotional, and I just thought that was my character.
Yeah,
So
amazing. Yeah, amazing.
so I had to figure that out.
So,
Yeah.
so you have said that coming into your body and your life was the biggest challenge. What does
Yeah.
that really mean? What does it really mean to live
Well,
that experience?
I think for me it really means that initially I was aware of that sense of numbness, and then I'd oscillate between being numb and being overwhelmed. And dissociation is really useful, it protects us from so much, but it also takes us out of our lives, right? Which is why you then have the extreme emotions. And I know it's a normal response and it's really healthy, but it's also really debilitating. You end up in relationships you don't want to be in, or struggling to speak up for yourself and struggling to be present in life, which I think most people do struggle until
Yeah,
I actually, I'd attended a whole psychotherapy training and I still didn't really get it that, that I wasn't just numb and emotional. That
yeah,
wasn't just who I was. And then I had a particular, I was in a crisis point and I called my mom and I said, hey, I don't think I can live through this kind of thing. And she told me to do this practice and it brought me into my body and it calmed me down. And I was like, oh, actually,
yeah,
that's not the whole story, right?
yeah,
The whole
amazing.
story isn't that roller coaster, or isn't that being disconnected. Actually can be something else. So then
Yeah,
that was the beginning of something else,
yeah,
of coming in.
yeah, amazing. So how did your early life experience influence your path towards therapy and healing? So,
I guess because it was a religious it kind of had two parts. It had a part that was that the organization that I grew up in, it had, it was had kind of Christian and spiritual elements, and then it had humanitarian elements, right? So I think the spiritual elements always made sense to me, not Christianity particularly, but paying attention to the self, kind of. So that, I think that helped me to begin to pay attention to. And there were different things that happened, like different places that I lived, because we moved every year, 2 years. So
wow,
yeah, there was a place we stayed for 3 years when I was 7. But before that it was moving every year.
wow.
Yeah, every
Yeah,
year or
that
two.
must really be difficult for you,
So,
being that
so
having to.
there's no connection, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I was recently writing about it because I'm writing a book, and I wrote a chapter in another book this year as well. And I just thought, oh, this is colonialism. It's a different aspect of
yeah,
colonialism, like, because you don't have the connection with people, or you do, but in a different way. And so how do you connect to yourself? So the people in the order didn't leave because they were kind of stuck there. Do you know what I mean? Because my
yeah,
parents thought about leaving in the first year, but yeah.
yeah, amazing, amazing. So you connect, yeah,
I was just going to say, historically, like the first year they were in the organization was, and the center of the organization, it was called the Institute of Cultural Affairs. And it's changed now and it doesn't have children's
yeah,
stuff anymore. So children aren't being abused anymore, which is great. But it was in Chicago. And it was when Martin Luther King was killed, right? Within the first year of me living in the organization.
Yeah.
So all the kids got bussed out, and it was, kind of really crazy because all these white people were in the west side of Chicago, or even in the north side of Chicago, in really diverse areas. Well, the west side of Chicago was a totally black area. And people were really, really upset. Of course they were, right? So all this stuff kicked off, and then the kids kind of
Yeah.
got shipped out to family or wherever. But it was crazy. But there's a, like, that snapshot is an aspect of that life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because in the States, racism is so prolific. It's an international problem.
Yeah.
It's not just in kind of, I don't know, Northern Hemisphere countries, but in the States, I haven't lived most of my life in the States, actually. Most of my life I've lived in the UK,
Yeah.
but I'm back
Amazing. Yeah.
now.
Amazing. So you actually connect personal recovery with professional practice. How
So that,
does your own healing journey
yeah,
show up in how you support others?
it always shows up in how I support others. I think my journey of coming into embodiment and the difficulty of that, I can really hold space for where people are because of that journey. And I think the kind of story I was talking about is part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Learning
Yeah.
learning how connected we are to each other, really. Once you really connect inside, then you know how connected you are to everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So you talk about embodiment as a path to freedom. What are some
Yes.
simple ways people can begin reconnecting with their own bodies safely?
Well, there's a tool that I always teach, which is kind of heart holding and talking to the body and talking to the younger parts and being reassuring, being the parent in the system, that kind of thing. And that actually putting your hands on your heart center can really make a difference, because that connection really helps. But I think the most important thing, Aro,
Yeah.
is kindness. Like, we need to pay attention to how we feel. We need to pay attention to what we need. We need to, kind of be resonant and respectful of what we need in each moment. And that really helps, because it's like we have a whole family inside and they all need listening to. And if we don't listen to them, then they kind of rise up and protest and say, not just you're not listening to me, but they rise up and protest and say, I'm trying to protect you. I need to scream right now because you're not being careful, right? But they think we're still 5 years old. They don't know that we're grown, right? So it gets complex, but the kindness inside just is the essential piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
Amazing.
experienced that too?
I can't put a word to it yet, but I think I have. Yeah. So, in your experience, what creates a real inner peace for someone with difficulties or traumatic background?
It is that kindness. It is being curious about what's going on within you instead of dismissing it, instead of overriding it. That's the beginning, and doing things that actually soothe your body and
Yeah.
soothe your system instead of things that activate it. There's many things, but I think it's contact with the body, breath, finding ways to bring yourself back in. So it can be kind of putting your feet on the ground, taking a deep breath, coming, paying attention, coming
Yeah.
in. But for me, because I've used a lot of energy tools and they were a real bridge for me into the body, for me it would be using energy tools like the heart holding, or um, emotional freedom technique, which uses a lot of different acupressure points, um, because it kind of soothes the system and calms it down and connects you at the same time. So yeah, those are the things that I think about. Something about respecting how you're feeling at the same time
Yeah.
as bringing yourself back in.
Yeah.
But I know there's
Respect your
people
feeling.
that use like ice, or, kind of something to hold, or something that brings them back into their bodies. All
Yeah.
I would
I
say
mean,
is just do it with respect, because otherwise
yeah.
it gets messy and different parts kick off, so yeah.
Yeah. So you teach awareness and energy practice. How does this differ from traditional talk-only approach?
I'm always going to ask you, so what's happening in your body now? Right? So you might talking about something you're struggling with, and then I'll say, so what's happening now in your body? Where do you feel it? Where's the tension? What do you notice? Right? And what you feel in the body is actually like the energetic pattern of it. And it's kind of underneath the thoughts and underneath the feelings and beliefs before it. And if we can tap into that and address it, then it unhooks and changes. It's incredible.
Yeah, amazing. So a whole lot of things to actually learn there. So after decades of this work, what have you learned about what humans most deeply need in order to heal and feel whole?
I have landed on circle. That there's many things that we need, and we've already talked about some of them.
Yeah.
We need curiosity, respect, kindness, holding, but we also need each other. So I'm doing a lot more circles now because having that reflection and having that, we make a bigger energetic container when we're together. Different things happen because we're together.
Yeah.
Although we can really harm each other, we also really heal each other. So when there's a circle of like 8 people or something, small circle, it allows us to create that field, reflect on the work, and everybody benefits from the kind of emotional, energetic work that each person does. It's incredible.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Leo. So Leo, for my audience who wants to reach out to you in respect of your book and what you do, how can they reach out and where is the best platform?
I'm on YouTube and Instagram. I think YouTube would be the place you might learn more about me. And certainly, my website, if you're interested in a circle or you want some tools, because I always have tools available. Sometimes I have free events as well. So that's at www.energycounseling.com. So yeah, you can find me
Yeah.
on YouTube, Lou Lachman, Energy Counseling, or either of those ways.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Leo Dotman. And definitely, I'm going to add the link to the show notes for my audience to actually reach out. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your stories and your grounded insight on embodiment, healing, and present. This has been a thoughtful and meaningful conversation. For our audience, you can access Leo Guide resources on heart holding reassurance. The link is going to be added to the show notes. Once again, thank you for listening to the Making of Me podcast. It's really a pleasure and honor having you on the show.
Thank you so much.